Aloha nerds, and welcome to the Salawag's Why It's Great. On this show I discuss the filmmaking techniques and storytelling choices that go into making a film great. So, talk about reshoots. Everyone's freaking out online about reshoots. Suicide Squad, it's all bad because reshoots. Everyone knows everything about filmmaking. Well, actually, reshoots are a regular part of filmmaking. Take Back to the Future, one of the greatest movies of all time. Half of that movie was reshot. And that's because Eric Stoltz was originally playing Marty McFly. They wanted Michael J. Fox in the first place, but he was busy. So they got Eric Stoltz. And, if you watch that footage, Eric Stoltz gives a really great performance. I mean, it's a great performance. But it's just his look and something about it was just felt too serious. And so they ended up having to go back to Michael J. Fox. And they just, through this crazy, brutal schedule, managed to make it happen. And 40% of that movie was reshot. So, when you talk about reshoots killing a movie, I want you to think about Back to the Future. And maybe it was studio-driven, who knows? Really, we don't know. Only they can tell us. Maybe it was studio-driven. But think about that when you watch movies and when you hear about things online, and there's a lot of opinions, there's all this, that. But notice when I brought up my intro, I said, storytelling choices. That was a storytelling choice right there. You needed the actor who could pull off the comedy with the shock. Eric Stoltz was all shock and not enough comedy. Michael J. Fox was a good chunk of comedy. Like, the way he reacted was believable, but he also had that quality of, it's funny. It's funny that it's happening to you, The look of, you believe him, but, you're my mom, but you're, You're, that sound, that it's just a quality that fits the movie. And you can always feel in a movie when it's off, and everyone knows, often early on, and that's why you have to do things like that. So that's why I'm doing this show, to talk about things that maybe you do know, maybe you don't know, maybe you're just interested in how a movie got made. That's what I'm here to talk about. So welcome to the Salawag's Why It's Great. Jurassic Park. Why is it great? Well, let's get the obvious stuff out of the way. Special effects. Everyone remembers the special effects. Some people say it's only great because of the special effects. And so some people might say, wow, it's so great because the animation was so real. But then there's also all the live action stuff that was not CG. And those were actual steel structures that were animatronic, created by Winston Churchill. Oh, it's not Winston Churchill. Stan Winston. Yeah, Stan Winston did it. Stan Winston, who you may know from the Terminator series. Stan Winston, he built the Terminator, he built, I think, the Alien. He's responsible for many of our favorite animatronic buddies in movies. He built that. That was a live T-Rex going through that moon roof, smashing the window, eating the goat. That was all live. That was all real, and it had to somehow work in rain. And through a complicated process of drying that thing after every single take, and moving the schedule and building actual pieces of sets around the Tyrannosaurus head, they were able to accomplish making you feel like you were looking from wherever people were looking at the T-Rex. So that goes to show you, like, it's not just, some fun ride where a little puppet gets carried over to set and they shoot it wherever they want. They had to shoot around the head because it was such a massive piece of machinery that it was impractical to move to any kind of location. So that's the special effects. It's the lie right there. When you shoot from that angle and you put a tree in the right place, it looks like you're where the truck is, where all the kids are looking up at the T-Rex. It looks like it when you choose that same angle, and you use editing to tie it all together. And you have to be conscious, conscience, Hey, Chance. Thank you if you're watching this, Chance. You have to be aware of those elements of film and work them into the effect. You have to say, okay, this can work for this kind of shot. You can shoot at 360 degrees, and it has an upper torso, but that's the only way you can shoot it, mostly looking up, stuff like that. You can't shoot the bottom. Stephen Spielberg takes those notes from Stan Winston, takes that into his plans, and works with the storyboard artists. It all started with the storyboards, but once you have to deal with something physically, then you do have to make changes and adjust. And all of that goes into that part. But when it comes to the computer animation and all of that, originally those dinosaurs were supposed to be stop-motion dinosaurs, designed by Phil Tippett. And if you don't know that name, Phil Tippett is responsible for Ed 209, the two-legged badass cop machine built for the movie RoboCop. He is responsible for creating the stop-motion animation that blew our minds when that movie came out. So originally there wasn't going to be the animatronics, or there was going to be, but there wasn't going to be computer animation. And so Phil Tippett was going to do all of the stop motion. And if you see the footage in the DVD, you'll see that the movement, the way the dinosaur moves, is exactly how they move in the movie. Like the test footage, the early test footage. It's so fluid and looks so real and believable. There's clearly a kind of philosophy put into how it was made. And then you saw that on the DVD, you see the CGI test footage. And Steven Spielberg's whole thing was, we can't use this stop motion because there's still something that doesn't quite look real. The movement's real, but something is off about it visually. The audience will be able to tell. And so he went to the CGI team. They turned out a few passes, and the dinosaurs looked pretty photoreal, but their movements weren't right. So wiser heads prevailed, and Phil Tippett was brought on to work with the CGI team in making those motions believable. And one of the things that Phil Tippett really brought was this concept of not just treating the dinosaur like a monster, but treating it like an animal. And he held these little dino classes where all of the animators would be asked to get out of their seats and walk around how they felt a dinosaur should work. And they would just worked on it and worked on it and worked on it and found the movements that felt right. And so you see the combined motions of the early stop motion work combined with the visual effects work. So you had a really fluid, living creature that felt real when you saw it. And all of that work goes into the CGI. You sit there at home, or you sit there in the theater, and you think all of this happened because some guy pressed ones and zeros and clicked his mouse for a really long time in a computer chair. And maybe that's part of it, but there's a lot of work, a lot of research and development, even the concept art that goes into making the designs that takes weeks, months, years to design and develop. That's why these movies come out, and that's why you pay for that experience, because you want someone who worked that hard on it to put their best foot forward and see that kind of work in the movie. So right off the bat, the visual effects, that's one of the things that makes it great, and now you know who's responsible and have a taste of the work that went into it. I highly recommend buying or renting the Jurassic Park DVD or Blu-ray and watching those special features because it's amazing. Like, really finding out what went into it was amazing. So check it out. Yeah, that's part 1. There's gonna be more.